The night my parents left me alone in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and slow death, I learned exactly how much space I took up in their world and how little they thought I deserved. I was 36, tubes in my arms, a surgical line drawn across my abdomen like a dotted border between who I used to be and whatever would crawl out after, and the only people in the waiting room were strangers charging their phones and a vending machine humming like it felt more sympathy than my own blood. My twins were at home with a neighbor because my sister had insisted she'd handle everything, flashing that polished smile she uses at charity galas, the one that says trust me while her hands are already in your pockets. Hours earlier, I'd overheard my parents in the hallway, their voices slipping through the cracked door, my mother's tired whisper cutting deeper than any scalpel. Some kids make you proud, others just take up space. My father didn't argue. He just sighed, like I was a bill he regretted paying. I tried to sit up, heart monitor screaming, because I'd just found out the surgery I thought insurance covered had been mysteriously downgraded, cheaper materials, administrative error, and the inheritance Grandpa set aside for my medical emergency, the one my sister promised was locked and safe, had been temporarily reallocated into one of her ventures. Then my phone buzzed with a photo from her Instagram story. Champagne, skyline, captioned family is everything dizzy dut. Under it, my parents smiling beside her, dressed like they were attending a celebration, not abandoning their daughter on an operating table. A nurse came in asking about payment authorization I'd already signed weeks ago, and when I called my sister, she declined the call and texted, "Don't make drama tonight. Focus on healing." The humiliation wasn't private. It was systemic, curated, posted, and liked. Even the surgeon avoided eye contact when I asked about the change in procedure, muttering something about last-minute approval issues. Lying there, for dripping cold into my veins, I realized the people who gave me life had quietly voted me off the island of their affection, and the money meant to keep me alive had been dressed up, redirected, and applauded. My body felt hollow, but something else filled the space. Not grief, not yet, but a clean, precise understanding. They didn't think I'd survive this in any way that mattered. They thought I was weak, distracted, too busy raising twins and keeping my head down to notice the paperwork, the signatures, the timing. They thought wrong. I stayed at the ceiling tiles, at the crack shaped like a lightning bolt, and felt something inside me seal shut. And that was the moment I knew. The real revenge begins now. If you're drawn to intense, true-feeling stories of betrayal, revenge, and justice that cuts deep, make sure you subscribe to this channel. These stories only get darker from here. I didn't confront them when I got out. That would have been emotional, loud, and useless, exactly the kind of reaction they expected from the family disappointment. Instead, I went quiet, the kind of quiet that makes people underestimate you while you're measuring the room. Recovery was slow, pain blooming every time I moved. But pain has a focusing effect if you let it, like the world narrows to what matters and burns away everything else. I spent nights at the kitchen table in my small suburban rental, twins asleep down the hall, rain ticking against the window, going through digital statements, old emails, insurance logs, and the trust documents Grandpa set up years ago when he still called me the steady one. My sister, Elena, had power of attorney for convenience during my surgery. Temporary, limited, except the timestamps showed transfers hours before I was wheeled in, routed through a holding account connected to one of her real estate shells in Manhattan, a glass high-rise with a lobby that smells like marble and money. My parents had co-signed a verification call, the voices on record confirming family consent. They didn't just know, they participated. The thing about Elena is that she doesn't break laws in obvious ways. She bends people. Board members, bankers, our parents. She studies their fears and offers them a version of themselves they like better. I'd watched her do it my whole life, turning scoldings into scholarships, failures into photo ops. But she had one blind spot. She believed I was predictable, soft, too busy loving my kids to ever become a problem. She didn't know that the night before surgery, when she came to my house with soup and sympathy, she'd left her phone on my counter while taking a call on speaker, not realizing my home security system records audio in the kitchen. She'd stepped onto the porch to get better signal, voice low and irritated. Transfer it now. She won't question it. She hates paperwork. By the time she notices, it'll be tied up in development. Mom and Dad are on board. They're tired of funding a lost cause. The phrase stuck, bright and poisonous. Lost cause. I didn't use it immediately. Revenge that fires too early just warns the target. Instead, I healed, got stronger, rebuilt my consulting work, and quietly requested a meeting with Grandpa, who lived in a modest Brooklyn brownstone that still smelled like pipe tobacco and old books. He was thinner, oxygen tank by his chair, but his eyes sharpened when I showed him the statements. He didn't interrupt. When I played the audio, his jaw tightened like a vice. I built that trust so you kids would never fight over survival, he said. They turned it into a weapon. 2 weeks later, he called a routine family financial review at Elena's glass tower office. I wore a fitted black suit that hid the surgical scar pulling when I breathed. Elena air-kissed my cheek, whispering, "So glad you're feeling better," already performing. My parents sat stiff, avoiding my eyes. Grandpa opened a folder. "Before I finalize estate restructuring, we need clarity." Elena launched into corporate poetry. Then Grandpa pressed play. Her voice filled the boardroom. Cold, certain, damning. Silence detonated. She tried to spin it. Couldn't. The evidence stacked like bricks. My mother cried. My father looked small. Investors exchanged looks that translate to way out. Reputations cracked in real time. I didn't yell. I told the truth. About waking up alone. About my children asking why Grandma didn't visit. About learning my life had been weighed and found inconvenient. The fallout was quiet but fatal. Projects frozen. Invitations withdrawn. Internal investigations opened. Grandpa rewrote the trust, locking funds away from all of them, protecting my children permanently. Elena came to my house once after that. Perfect coat. Perfect posture. I didn't open the door. I sent her the audio file instead with one sentence. This is forever. Revenge didn't heal the wound. It closed the lie. I still feel the hospital cold sometimes, the hollow echo of being unwanted. But then my twins crawl into my bed on Sunday mornings, hair messy, arms tight around my neck, and I know something with absolute certainty. I was never the one taking up space. I was the only one strong enough to stand my ground when the people who should have loved me most decided I was expendable.